Let's start with the nation. EFCC OBJ Library lock horns over arrest of 93 fraudsters. Opposition tackles governor over deputy 7-month sick leave. Why Niger Delta region will back Tinubu in 2027 by Otaro. Wanted church leader arrested in Lagos for cross-border drug trafficking. 171 illegal estates. What government's action has cost us by developers. Fire me, I remain APC member in Ekiti. FIRS e-invoicing systems hit 5 trillion naira in early surge. And family fixes September 9th to 12th for doing Abiola's funeral. Okay, which story are we taking?
Let's do major headline. So, yesterday, EFCC was trending for having carried out a raid somewhere in Ondo State. But this morning, the headline of the nation says it was a sting operation in the early hours of Sunday, leading to the arrest of 93 suspected internet fraudsters, according to what the EFCC said. And the raid, according to the nation, happened at the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library in Abeokuta. And the agency said they had credible intelligence, and so they went there and they were able to get about 93 arrests of 93 suspects, and they recovered 18 vehicles, mobile devices from the suspects. The management of the OOPL, that's the Olusegun Obasanjo Library, are, of course, protesting against this. According to their spokesperson, it says that they also interrupted the event that was happening, a private event that was happening at the amusement facility in the complex. And so within that complex, there are several other, event places. He said that the raid was carried out by 50 armed men from the EFCC, and they just went Gestapo on everybody that they raided, they destroyed, they interrupted, and they are insisting. They were led by one Olopade, and that they called him on the phone. He said that it was based on credible intelligence that they had about Yahoo people at the place, and that's why they went there. But the management, of course, is insisting that, number one, they need an explanation about these impudent actions from the EFCC, as well as a public apology from the EFCC authorities for the infringement of the rights and the rights of all attendees, and for the injuries sustained by victims of the gangster-like induced chaos that they came to do. And they said failure to do so, they will seek redress and sanction as appropriate. So, we're waiting.
Okay, let me take the wanted church leader arrested in Lagos. So after months of fleeing abroad to evade arrest, the founder of Turn of Mercy Church, Prophet Adefolusho Anu Olashele, alias Abbas Ajakaye, has been arrested by the NDLEA for masterminding shipments of illicit drugs into Nigeria. Director Media NDLEA, Mr. Femi Babafemi, broke the news yesterday. He said that the officers of the NDLEA had waited for him. They let him finish his church service. He finished preaching in church, and then they stepped into the church premises to arrest him. Babafemi said that the arrest came after he had evaded arrest twice, fled to Ghana to hide since June, when operatives started trailing him following the shipment of Ghana Loud, a strain of cannabis linked to him. The spokesman said the first seizure of 200 kg of the psychoactive substance was made in Okunaja in Lekki, right here. Also, they saw 700 kg of the same substance was recovered by his delivery man in July. I mean, this is so. I was using the church to cover up his identity.
Prophets now, they run.
Hey, so I'm so happy that the law has caught up with him.
I have the chairman of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, that's TET Fund governing board, Aminu Masari, yesterday confirming that they had received 1.6 trillion naira for various interventions across tertiary institutions in the country. He said that the highest vote for, he described the fund as the highest vote for TET Fund in recent allocation. The funds accrued from the 3% education tax that had been imposed on company profits as stipulated by the TET Fund Act. He stated that 40% of the amount, representing 460 billion naira, was earmarked for interventions across tertiary institutions nationwide. For state-level interventions, 3 institutions were selected in each state, 1 university, 1 polytechnic, and 1 college of education to benefit. They said that interventions are demand-driven, so institutions would write, and then based on their needs and available resources, that's how it was allocated. He said 225 billion from the 1.6 trillion was released to NEL Fund for the federal government students loan scheme. Amazing. Another 70 billion, he said, was earmarked for energy support for tertiary institutions to build solar or gas power generation facilities. He also said that the board also allocated 25 billion to assist some institutions in enhancing campus security and so much more. Concerning healthcare, he says that the President Bola Tinubu's administration is committed to addressing healthcare, and because of the exodus of medical personnel out of the country, you know, he's earmarked some funds as well to, you know, to stop this trend or fill in the gap that has been created by the exodus. So we see how this money has been is being put into work, and so it's for us now to put an eye on what they have said that they are doing and make sure that they deliver. Yeah.
Okay, let me quickly take the story of REDAN, Real Estate Developers Association Nigeria, reacting to the publication that was made declaring 176 estates illegal in Lagos State. The nation reached out to them, and their response was showing the impact of the listing of 176 estates as illegal. They said in their opinion, one of them mentioned that he felt that the director of Gracias Global felt that while layout is very important, the way that the list was declared, in the opinion, to classify estates that had done 50 to 70% was very harsh, especially in this period when several estate companies are being labeled scammers, and government knows that many developers have not recovered from what's happened with the realignment of the new coastal road and the encroachment without state government coming to their aid. Another person mentioned that some of the companies have all the documents, layout, approval with them, and yet their companies were still listed. Some said that there was a lot of panic within the estates, and investors who bought within those estates are calling out the companies as fraudulent just because of the listing, while the estates were bought from Lagos State government. So he said some of these estates were bought from Lagos State government. They were allocated estates, allocated land. And so you declare them illegal, and the people that are bought into them are now saying that the companies are fraud because the government already declared you an illegal estate, yet you paid this same state government to buy those lands. That a whole lot needs to be said, that the conversation from the fiscal planning, the Commissioner for Fiscal Planning does not cover the issues on ground and the impact of what this press release is having on the industry at large. I still feel we should discuss more on it, but maybe industry to government.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on now to the Punch. States hit by 68% spike in foreign debt payments. Doña Biola media guru reflects on democracy, soldiers' life. India buys Nigerian crude as Dangote imports U.S. oil. Flood crisis, AFG predicts more devastation in 15 states. Picture story here, EFCC arrests 93 suspects for internet fraud in Ogun. Another UK-based Nigerian jailed 5 years for rape. Rivers local government poll umpire under fire amidst ADC and APC attacks. Let's take one story for the break.
Okay, let me take the River State. So the ADC, of course, has said that they will not take part in the local government elections coming up in River State on the 30th of August. That's because
there's still a coalition. They're not a party.
No, the ADC was an existing party.
An existing party.
So they can't go coalition, they enter. Those cross
okay.
Yeah. So they said they will not take part in the local government elections because, of course, they think that it is illegal of the sole administrator to carry out an election. You know, I think it's a clash of interest, according to them. And then the faction of the APC, loyal to Rotimi Amechi in the state, is also saying that INEC, the River State Independent Electoral Commission, they are accusing them of running the business of the state with their own rules. They said that the Electoral Commission has not contacted the Emeke Beke-led party leadership, which is the only one recognized for the APC in the state. And the state publicity secretary of the ADC said at a news briefing that this administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, currently occupy the government house illegally and lacked constitutional powers to conduct any elections. I'm wondering, how can he be conducting elections? Didn't he, suspend those office holders and appointed new ones at the time? I think the president should now be talking to the AG on this.
Okay, let's go on a very short break. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. Who has the story?
I have the major headline.
Okay.
States have spent 60% more on funding their foreign debt. So the foreign debt payments has been ongoing. Many states have collected external debts obligation, and that the data from the first half of 2025 as compared to the first half of 2024 shows that there's been a sharp increase of 68% in repayment of debt. So they said the pressure is mounting because most of these debts, external debts, are dollar denominated. And so states' finance are shrinking because of the weakness of the Naira and the Naira depreciation. So he said it's crucial to note that the federal government's external debt servicing on behalf of the states through the irrevocable standing order arrangement, which authorizes that the states that owe money, it is FAC that takes the money immediately from their allocation. So allocation has increased, but what is getting to the states has reduced because they are having to finance debts. And he said that the external loans that is been approved, agreement is ongoing, payments are being done, deductions are carried out by the central bank directly, and month on month, especially within this year, it's been higher than what they were paying last year. It's still a conversation. They said Lagos State acknowledges that the country's economic nerve, retains position as the single largest contributor to the overall debt. Like Lagos is owing the largest chunk of debt, but they are paying, and we're hoping that maybe if the Naira strengthens, it would reduce the burden of this debt that is being paid in dollars.
Okay, I have a story. A 33-year-old Nigerian in the UK, let me get his name for you. Something Ogundipe, Shegun Ogundipe, has been arrested for sexually assaulting and raping a British citizen in Gloucester. According to the story, this was just happening after somebody recently, I think it's Nosa Elvis, was also jailed for 6 years for sexually assaulting his girlfriend's underage daughter. Now, in this case of Shegun Ogundipe, he met a girl to ask her out to date. They went out together, and then he took her to his house. According to her, she had gotten down to use the bathroom, and that's where he sexually assaulted her and raped her. And he told her to stop. Obviously, he didn't stop. And then even while he was taking her home, he was still touching her and groping her, and while she was telling him to stop. So he's been sentenced to, I think, 5 years in jail for raping. And yeah.
What's in the name of lack of self-control?
What is the name of lack of
abuse.
discipline?
You know what I used to do in Nigeria here? Just
And get away with it.
Just
You're taking it somewhere now, you see. Consent. Consent. You must always wait for consent. I have a story. Yes. This says refineries in India are buying Nigerian crude while the country's Dangote petroleum refinery is largely running on American oil. So industry sources said that 1 million barrels of Nigeria Agbami crude oil has been bought by Indian oil corporations for the September delivery, and that this is amongst many more millions of barrels that India is buying from non-Russian sources. The story is also that the US had put pressure on India to stop purchasing from Russia. Of course, the Russia-Ukraine war. And so they are buying from Nigeria. But they're saying, ironically, while Indian refiners are boosting purchases of Nigerian grades, Dangote Petrol Refinery is relying heavily on US imports to feed its processing units.
Wow.
They said an average of 10 million barrels in July, was what he got. And that this is in spite of the Naira for crude deal with the federal government. So the question is why, if he could just get it from here, why does he have to get all the way from the US? Meanwhile, India is getting our superior, crude and using it. So I guess question for all of us. Why?
Okay. Daily Sun, 2027, Jonathan Peter Obi split PDP. FIRS begins EU invoicing electronic fiscal systems for taxpayers. Naira suffers 9.8 million later daily shortfall. Nigeria actually in Petrol refining. Obasanjo threatens legal action against EFCC over alleged illegal invasion of the complex. Digital breaches push back accounts theft risk up to 56%. Rising debt deductions threatening state grassroots development. Okay, which story are we doing in Daily Sun?
Let me quickly do the Dangote and our petroleum business. So the Sun reports that Nigeria suffers 9.8 million litres daily shortfall in petrol refining. And the Dangote refinery says that they currently supply 40 million litres of petrol daily into the domestic market in Nigeria. And linking that, I think where Sun arrived at this is that the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority recently disclosed that Nigeria's average petrol consumption had dropped to 49.8 million litres daily. So with 40 million, you just have the shortfall of 9.8 million litres. And so they said that they are now doing so much, according to the report, with imported fuel to cover the difference. But the NMDPR CEO is insisting that there's been a decline in petrol consumption in the country due to less driving. And so that shortfall does not interpret to, lack scarcity of that 9.8 million, but a drop in the consumption of 9.8 million. So for more details, you can read the song.
Okay. FIRS has rolled out their e-invoicing for taxpayers. According to the FIRS, they said they have commenced an electronic invoicing solution aimed at transforming digital tax administration and revolutionizing the tax payment in Nigeria. As many of you know, internationally, most companies just go online to file their taxes. But here, many of us have to get consultants to help to file taxes. Now they're making it very easy. The system is known as merchant buyer model, designed to make tax compliance easier, faster, and more transparent for all categories of taxpayers. So Dari Adekombi, who is a special advisor to the chairman, Zach Adedeji, said that the solution went live August 1st. And first, they had actually initially onboarded companies with over 5 billion turnover first. And and in less than 2 weeks after the initiative went live, no fewer than 1,000 companies representing 20% of over 5,000 eligible firms have embraced the solution and commenced integration. I'm not sure if many of the SMEs have been adopted it yet, but many big companies have already, and I'm hoping that it spreads across to most companies. So it's easier to file your taxes and very, very transparent.
We're looking forward to that. So there's a rising digital breach. This breach is where concerning banks. So they said that the banks have percentage-wise is about 56% breach taking place. We are ranking number 3 in the countries within sub-Saharan Africa that has breach in our finance system. 13 million Nigerians have their accounts leaked with passwords and data from the banks. And so the CBN is threatening tougher sanctions for security failures within the banking sector. Okay. Many people, if you lose your phones and you use USSD codes to do any transfer, many people have their entire account wiped out within an hour. Even if they call to report, they can only close current account, they can't close savings account. A majority of those that use USSD have savings accounts, so they lose their money. Many fraudulent practices. They say one of the top tier bank managers gave report of how Basis, which was a platform they used to use before, was really slowing down their systems. They had system failures, and now they moved to Finacle. But the infrastructure entirely of the banking sector, banks need to invest a lot of money into securing our data that they have access to, and more importantly, securing our money, which is meant to be in their custody. And CBN is saying that they are going to give tougher sanctions for banks who have recurring security breach and security failures within their infrastructure. So we're looking forward to what the tougher sanction will be specifically, because banks keep declaring profit, and those of us that own accounts, they are losing money. Yeah, sanction quickly. Okay, Vanguard, sugar importation rises as local production falters. Looming strike, AFG to pay 7 months arrears of doctors and health workers. Peter Obi has integrity and he'll keep his one-term promise, says MBF. I think that's the Middle Belt Forum. FG's fresh warning, states mobilized against flooding. Tax Reform Act will cripple our operations in 48 hours, says AON. And EERC moves to resolve the Enugu power outage. Okay, which story are we taking?
Flooding. The federal government has forecast heavy rainfall over a 5-day period that will lead to flooding across 15 states in the north and 68 locations. So really, this is just an update as we've been taking this story nearly every day. And they say the National Emergency Management Agency has said that a total of 140,328 people in 21 states have been affected by floods so far in 2025. So they're issuing out warnings. Names of all the areas that will be affected have been listed. It's a whole long list, so you have to go read that. And then if you fall in those areas, please, the warning is evacuate, use the necessary shelters that have been provided, for you during this period. Just keep safe, keep your lives. Your lives are really important. I understand for a lot of people, it's also their property. You can't take your house with you, but at least you can take your lives and some of the mobile properties with you until this 5-day rainfall period and the flood period is over.
Okay.
Can I do the ERC?
Please.
So the Enugu State Regulatory Commission has issued a statement. They said, sequel to the public announcement from Main Power, which stated that the EEDC, that's the Enugu State Electricity Distribution Company, its parent company, directed the curtailing of power supply to Band B to e-feeders and the challenges in vending being experienced by customers in Enugu State. The Enugu State Electricity Regulatory Commission invited Main Power Electricity Distribution Limited to a meeting on Thursday, 7th of August, to ascertain the reasons for the decision to curtail power supply in Enugu State. So they are blaming the EDC as well as the Main Power Distribution, Electricity Distribution for the drop in power supply in Enugu State. But the other side is insisting that following the directive to reduce the cost of Band A electricity to 160 is why this is happening. And so hopefully they resolve it. They say they're working on resolving it. Hopefully they do resolve it.
Okay, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. We're going to short break now. When we come back, we continue with the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.